All right, I'm
You're
here.
recording this call. You're supposed to ask permission for that.
Oh my gosh, thanks, bro. Oh man, I am here with former client and friend Jennings D. Jennings, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, so excited to do this, dude. And let's just kick this thing off. Uh, Tell the people about the results you experienced working with us.
Yeah, so when I joined Default Kings, I weighed 186 pounds. I cut down to 170. I mean, I technically got down to 168, but that lasted for all of like a day, and I might have, gone to the bathroom a few times and taken a bunch of saunas just to like cheat the weight a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
uh, but I've maintained 170 to 172 for the past 3 months solid. Historically, I would cut a bunch of weight. I'd hit campaign season. I'd gain a bunch of weight, and then I'd be fat for a while, and then I would join a program, and I'd cut a bunch of weight, and then campaign season would hit again. And I'm in the middle of House race, or it's a Senate race right now. Um, have prepped for a House race. Theoretically, it's not happening. And long story short, I'm keeping the weight off this campaign season, which has been huge.
Let's go. That's awesome. Yeah, I remember when we first chatted, we were talking about losing the weight, gaining it back, but it was so specifically tied to campaign season. So can you talk a little bit more about how campaign season actually affects your day-to-day life, practically speaking, in business and busyness and stress and all that? How was that affecting you before we started working together?
Yeah, so obviously, I'm a political consultant. I work with businesses during legislative session, but I also work with campaigns during campaign season, and campaign season has historically been every other year. This year has been the campaign season that never ends, but um, my days are significantly longer when elections are happening. Last night I got a call at midnight. So, yeah, campaign season. Look, one of my main lines of business is I'm a political consultant. It's a high stress, high intensity, very fun career. I love it. But during that time period, I am less likely to eat healthy. I am less likely to prioritize fitness. I am less likely to prioritize not drinking. Me, I love my old fashions, and they help me write better political copy, or so I tell myself. And so, I mean, it has a big impact on me. Back when I was a lobbyist, legislative session did the same thing.
Mhm.
But right now, I've been in the middle of, I've worked with you guys through a campaign season. I am in the middle of the campaign season that never ends because President Trump keeps appointing lots of great Floridians to positions of power. And there's just this trickle up effect where, you know, state senators ran for Congress and state House members ran for the Senate seat, and
Mhm.
people keep moving up,
Yeah.
which it is good for business. But I've been able to not just cut the weight, but lose the weight during a very stressful campaign season and a year where I acquired a completely non-political business and have been, managing to keep that running and extremely profitable without losing my mind
Mhm.
or, stress eating myself to obesity.
Dude, love that, dude. That's huge. And also, when I remember that was the first kind of initial hurdle we wanted to tackle when we started working together. I think it's cool too because apart from us just having a little bit of a prior relationship before working together, you know that everything we do here at DK is very mission focused. Like we have a very specific intention in supporting guys who have influence in the kingdom, guys who have influence in our politics, and going into this knowing, hey, we're going to be supporting Jennings DePriest, knowing the influence he has for our country. And being stronger and being healthier and being just more mentally even keel through those stressful seasons. I mean, it was an honor going into it. And I was excited going into it. So it's cool to see that. Um, Curious for you. I think there's two things I want to talk about in relation to how you actually saw success with this. On the stress eating front, what were the kind of mindset shifts that took place throughout the process that led to you having more victory there and not going to food when things got crazy?
Yeah, so I think there was a point during last campaign season when we were working together where I admitted to you that I'd said to my wife, I need an emotional support cheeseburger.
Hmm.
And it turns out I can still have emotional support cheeseburgers. I just need to, drop the bun and, maybe not also have a large fry with it.
Mm,
Um, and, uh, really getting into a point where there's something you talk about on Twitter a lot of if you're not, if you're sacrificing your business for your body, you're losing both, is
mm.
functionally what you talk about.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, So like I mean I have a non-negotiable whether I'm lifting that day or not because I lift 2 to 3 days a week, but I have a non-negotiable walk. I go on an hour and a half to earlier in the week it was like 3 hours long, but that was specifically because the maids were at my house and I was bored and like yeah whatever. But I have that non-negotiable like hey I wake up I go on a walk I hit the sauna cold shower start my day don't care if the world's burning down. If the world is burning down to the point where I can't handle it from a phone call while I'm walking, then something has gone terribly wrong, and I'm going on my walk anyways because I need to be in the right headspace for it.
Wow. Yeah, fair, fair. That's incredible. That actually, as funny as that sounds, that is so real because it's almost like that consistent habit is the thing that allows us to show up well for our business and our responsibilities. And if something is so crazy in the business responsibilities that it's going to pull us away, then I need, like, for me, it's like I need that grounding even more
Yeah,
to protect that time. So that's awesome to see that habit was built.
yeah. I mean, there's a. I want to say it was Spurgeon. It might not have been Spurgeon. Let's say it was John Edwards, so it's a good Presbyterian and not a Baptist. But said something along the lines of, I'm exceptionally busy today. I need to make even more time for prayer. Right? It's a very, very similar concept.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying walking is the same as prayer, but like my morning walks
Yeah.
are my thing.
That's good, man. That's a really good. I haven't heard that quote before, but that is incredible, and it's so interesting. I feel like hearing that now from you in this interview even gives me that confidence that Jennings took from this the number one thing we want people to take from this, which is the ultimate priority that's going to lead to the physical benefits and bless everything else is that time with God, is that relationship with God. And it's funny, like the amount of well-meaning, hardworking, super disciplined, highly intelligent, highly effective men who we work with, who, when things get busy, the first thing they deprioritize is that time with God. It's like, hey, like we literally can't expect anything else to work as God designed if you're not prioritizing that time with Him. So that's awesome, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
If watchers take nothing else away from this, that's the most important.
Well, and look, I mean, that's the important part of my morning walk is the very first thing I do. And man, I keep plugging Baptist, and that's just killing me. Very first thing I do is I turn on my John MacArthur Daily Bible, and that's the first 15 minutes of my walk. And then, I might have calls after that. I might listen to Myron Golden. I might, listen to, some other podcast.
Yeah, that's great, man. That's awesome. Cool. Fantastic. And then practically speaking, from a strategy standpoint, what were some of the big things that you implemented that helped you make a difference? I mean, you mentioned some of those basic things like if you're having a burger, there's some basic changes you can make to that meal in and of itself. But I thought one of the things I thought was really cool when we worked together was the amount of times you would send us pictures of your food when you're eating out. And that was fun just to see like that process take place where you make different decisions. So what were some of the biggest things you changed about just your regular strategy that helped?
Yeah, so I know you like to crap on intermittent fasting, but I'm not a big fan of breakfast. I actually just tweeted out what I had for breakfast today. It was two of those Okios 000 yogurts and a Celsius and some creatine.
Yeah.
Um, but um, you know me, I'm a foodie. I love food. It is my favorite thing. If I hadn't gone into politics, I would have gone into the restaurant industry. Uh, my dad told me I wasn't allowed to go into the restaurant industry, so I went into politics. But a few big pieces here. One is when I'm going to like my wife and I really like Michelin star restaurants. Like if I'm going to a Michelin star restaurant, like I'm probably not eating breakfast or lunch, or if I am, it's like some protein yogurt to hold me over,
Hmm.
right? And sparkling water, that type of thing. Um, Two, and this is, not approved by my doctor, is I have definitely increased my cigar intake, and nicotine is an appetite suppressant. Um, Charles Spurgeon, again, I just keep quoting Baptists today. I'm sorry to my Presbyterian brothers.
We'll get to
Um,
that. We'll get to that later in the interview.
he very famously said, "Tonight I'm going to smoke a cigar to the glory of God." Big believer in doing that.
Love it.
And the other big thing is, and I think you and I touched on this. Again, I'm a Presbyterian, so I do drink. But uh, it, I had this revelation one night. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna have 340 calories worth of old fashioned, and old fashioned is 170 calories. And just knowing kind of offhand, like how many calories is in a drink, how many calories is in, like I eat a lot of steak, I eat a lot of rice, a lot of potatoes. Like I can do that in the back of my head now and kind of know roughly where I'm at.
Yeah.
Um, but I had this revelation of like, oh, hey, I can drink or I can have dessert. I probably can't do both unless like I've prepped for it
Hmm.
beforehand. Michelin star dinner, like I'm not skipping dessert and I'm not skipping alcohol.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
So
that's awesome. Like, it's just almost like that practical understanding of what you're managing, what you're stewarding,
yeah,
versus mindlessly just doing it. And of course, that never works out.
yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Love that. Fantastic. Okay. Another question I have for you specifically is traveling. There
Mm.
were so many different things we implemented. And I remember like this interesting piece of equipment that you purchased that I had never even heard of, and all these other things. So, what were some of the big things you did to manage your weight with how frequently you travel?
Okay, so I always travel through the same airport, and I know there are some people who are like, "Well, I find the cheapest flight, like whatever, save $100." I always fly through Atlanta. I live in the South, and in the South, if you're going to heaven or going to hell, you have to stop in Atlanta first if you're flying Delta. So I always fly to the same airport. I know based on terminals and based on my layover, my assistant also knows to plan me layovers based on timing. I know where I'm eating lunch or dinner, and I know exactly what I'm having there. So, fly through Atlanta, and as long as it's an evening flight, which is usually what I'm scheduling, I am having a 2 to 2.5 hour layover. I'm going to Terminal E. I'm eating at One Flew South. I'm having a New York strip, which I know is fattier than a filet, but they don't have a filet, so close enough.
Yep.
Um, I'm having a New York strip. I'm having an old fashioned. Might have some truffle fries with it, but and you might be like, oh man, that's a lot of calories. It's still way less calories than McDonald's, and it's a
Yeah.
way better experience than McDonald's.
Mm.
And I'll take a 12-ounce New York strip over a quarter pounder with cheese any day of the week. It's going to be a higher protein to calorie ratio. It's going to be better for you. It's better in your stomach. I know we're not getting seed oils or any of that stuff, but like that's a big piece. The
Wow.
other piece is I will walk from whatever terminal I land in to Terminal E. So that's getting me extra steps there
Mm.
and then extra steps to wherever my next flight is. And there's no direct flights out of Sarasota. So that's if anybody's like, well, I fly direct, like, I live in Sarasota. That doesn't happen. Um, so that's a big piece of it. Um, Other pieces that have kind of changed in the past year is if I'm flying into a city with a Soho House, I stay at Soho House because I know Soho House is going to have a good gym. The only exception to that is the one in Beverly Hills. They're like, hey, you get free berries boot camp classes, and that seems a little effeminate for my taste, so
Yeah.
I don't go do that. But like, I know which hotels I'm staying at and which hotels have gyms. Or uh, when I fly to New York, I stay with my buddy who lives in New Jersey, and he has a nice home gym. So
Mhm.
I have that built in. And then I do have, and man, I was hoping I would think of the name of it by now, but I do have a folding table gym.
Yeah.
And one of us will think of it on this call because I
Hopefully.
can't think of the brand name. I just know that it goes in my suitcase
Yeah.
when I'm traveling to a place that is like absolutely like gym's going to be garbage.
Yeah.
Um, but it has 300 pounds of resistance. It weighs 10 pounds. It goes in my checked luggage, and I at least have that for resistance training when I get wherever I'm going.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's incredible because I guess that shows to the level of intentionality that you've put into managing your health while you're traveling. Whereas most guys just write off throw in the towel like, oh, it sucks, I'll do my best or whatever and figure it out. The other thing guys do is
Yeah.
just no plan and they're just like, I'll grit it out. But then their back's against the wall, they're faced with weird situations, they kind of fall off. So ton of planning and intentionality has gone into that, which is awesome. And then yeah, again, the travel gym bag thing, travel gym that fit into a suitcase. I can't remember the name of it, but
I
to
can't remember the name of it right now either. It's in my garage gym, and like I could go grab it, but that's gonna be like a weird cut in the interview
yeah, that's all right. To paint the
because
picture,
it's not printed on there. But yeah, it folds out. You stand on it. There's two cables. Each cable can go up to 150 pounds. You can attach a bar to it. You can bench press. You can squat. You can whatever. The travel system, they have one that attaches to the door so you can do pull downs. Like I haven't gotten that fancy with it, but
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. That's a huge help, and it just kind of goes to show like investing in that as an asset makes it so much more practical to stay on track. And it's just worth it every time to reduce that barrier of, oh, my gym's going to suck, or even I have to go down to the gym. It's right there in your bag. So that's awesome, man. I love that. Cool. Next thing that I want to talk to you about, I think this will probably get maybe a little bit funny. But you mentioned a few times in the beginning of this conversation, oh man, I'm accidentally quoting these Baptists. I'm a good Presbyterian. So this is I never foresaw this, but I guess it does make sense because the way that we communicate and do everything is faith-based, right? This is honoring your body. This is part of our relationship with Christ is being obedient in this way, right? That's our whole message. And more frequently, I think as we've been more direct with it, actually, we've had more guys who have a literal question of like, Gabe, what if I have theological differences with you? Like, you're not a pastor. I'm like, no, I'm not your pastor. I'm going to share with you some things I've learned that have been fruitful in my life and the life of the men that we serve. But the question is, like half the time of our conversations, I think, would be us talking about theology and like making jokes back and forth at each other about what we disagreed on, or a lot of times things we agreed on. You're kind of just educating Joey and I, to be honest, with your supreme theology as a Presbyterian. So legit question. How did you, in your mind, when you're investing into mentorship in one area of life from two guys who are younger than you, from two guys who have theological differences with you, even, and we're not talking about any weird crap cultish heresy type stuff, guys. Like we're all Orthodox Christians. Okay. No, nothing crazy. But how in your mind did you kind of frame that? Okay, I'm actually learning from these guys. I'm gonna take what they're saying seriously even though, there's a little bit of that kind of fun back and forth, and not even just fun. Sometimes you would send me big texts with honest correction from some of the things, which I appreciate. How did you frame that in your mind?
yeah, I mean, look, you have better apps than I do. I have a better library than you do. So I think there's areas where we can learn from each other, and iron sharpens iron. Um, you know, one day you guys will join the Orthodox Presbyterian Church, the OPC, the One Perfect Church, and everything will be great. But until then, I'm going to continue razzing you. Look, I mean, I think this is something, and I've been paying for coaching for a very long time, like most businessmen who are successful, right? Like most of us have done different men's retreats, we've done strategic coach, we've done all of these different things, or we are doing them. Uh, and I think one of the big things that people mistake is that you are going to find a coach who is going to be able to successfully coach you in all areas of your life, right? Um, I would not go to my pastor for fitness advice. I am fitter than my pastor is. I have no issue saying this. I'm actually just going to send him this clip. I'm pretty sure I outlift him. I look better than he does.
Double down.
He won't even wear shorts, much less like take his shirt off. So I am fitter than my pastor, and that's great. I'm also, I'm better looking than my pastor too, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
Um, he he has an MDiv. I don't have an MDiv. He's actually working on his doctorate of theology, D-Min, doctor of ministry, something. He's working on his doctorate, right? But like, I have no issue going to him for advice on that.
Mhm.
Um, Now, what I will say is, like, the people I go to advice for, and this is a big thing that I messed up early, is I go to people who like have somewhat of a similar life to me, right? Like you and Joey are both businessmen. You're both Christians, right? Like I'm not saying that I would trade my life with you guys, but
Yeah.
if I had to trade lives with you, it wouldn't be like a massive reset.
Hmm. Hmm.
I, I'm not going to the guy who lifts, all day, every day, who's shooting up steroids, who's doing, he's 4% body fat, because that guy doesn't have anything going on in the business world. That guy doesn't have anything going on spiritually. That guy probably doesn't have a wife and kids.
Hmm.
And I think it's really important to have people who might be better at you in one area, but they're not significantly worse than you. Like,
I hear you saying.
I mean, like you talk about fat pastors all the time. If my pastor was morbidly obese, like I'd probably be less likely to go to him for advice because it's very different to have a life of, hey, like, I'm 20% body fat, which, it's higher than it should be, but, I'm 20% body fat. Um, but, I understand theology. I take good care of my family, whatever, versus like, I'm 35% body fat and all I do is read theology books and eat stuff my face all day. And I'm using the pastors as the example here, but
Yeah.
you and Joey, particularly you, now that you have a kid, um, you're both married, you both have a business. It's easier for me to take advice from you guys on something that you are clearly better at fitness than I am. You look better with your shirt off than I do. Um, but uh, you have a similar lifestyle to me outside of that. Like that's who you go to advice for. You don't go to the guy who's only good at one thing. Because if the guy who's only good at one thing is not like it's like people who are like, I'm gonna take business coaching from this guy who only knows how to do marketing and doesn't know how to do operations. It's the same concept here. Like you
Mm-hmm.
guys clearly know how to balance a life and balance a schedule versus like I'm not going to throw other trainers under the bus, but like there are guys out there who are like, well, you have to train twice a day and
Yeah.
you should be doing CrossFit and but they live in a gym, right? It's a different lifestyle. I know that rambled a bit, but
No, that's all great, and that's all really good points. And I feel like that's practical advice for anybody when they're considering mentorship in any area, right? It's like, do am I going to learn for the person who is a subject matter expert in one area, but has let every other area of their life that absolutely matters and that they're called to excellence and fall by the wayside and burn,
yeah.
right? Um, and so, yeah, that's really incredible advice. I love that. Um, Fantastic. Okay. Last thing I'm curious about for you is, and honestly, I feel like I know the answer just because I know you and I've seen this. But how in your mind, and I think just to context for anybody watching this, I think this is a bit relevant that at the time of this recording, we are about 2 weeks after the assassination of Charlie Kirk and an event that will be remembered for the rest of time. That is, it's very significant to guys like Jennings and myself with what we believe in him being just such a great champion of the faith and being so committed to to making sure this country is built on the right values. Um, that for me was such a energizer in what God's calling us to do. It reminded me of how important what we do is, and it just gave me like a level of boldness, I feel like, to attack this mission with vigor and with just complete confidence, emulating the way he executed his mission, right? He finished well, right? And seeing the speech that you gave at one of his vigils down in Florida, that fired me up. It was intense. It was passionate. It was true. So what I'm curious about for you is um, how are you connecting in your mind this virtue of taking care of your health and being strong and fit and healthy? How are you connecting that to your God-given mission and what God's calling you to do to build the kingdom?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a conservative and you're not taking care of your health at this point, you're inconsistent in your beliefs.
Mm,
Um, yeah, look, we all know that at this point, medical schools are full of DEI hires who have no business being there. If you're planning on relying on the medical system, like I mean, you're frankly screwed. You do have to take your health into your own hands and your fitness into your own hands. And you have to continue. I know you train jujitsu. I used to train regularly. Um, you do need to be thinking about like how can I be harder to kill? And obviously, there's no amount of training that would have made Charlie Kirk not get shot. Right?
yeah.
But like, if somebody pops out of the bushes, if somebody attacks my family, how am I going to make sure that I have the cardio to fight off that attacker? How do I have the mental presence to pull my gun and make the shot?
Mhm.
Um, there's there is a very real battle brewing out there. And I'm not saying that's necessarily going to come down to a violent escalation. But if you're, thick and on the couch, like you're not making a change for this world, you're not making a change for a society. You're
Mhm.
not making a change for your children, which is the most important thing. My kids see me in the gym, they see me on the walking pad. Little Jennings has his own little weights. I think he's going to be getting some real metal weights this year now that he's turning 6. But um, your your legacy is dependent on your ability to carry the load into the future.
Mhm.
And the the way that we change the way that we change this country is get married, have kids, share our values with our kids so that they get married and have kids and share their values with their kids. And God gave us fat, weak enemies who uh, don't reproduce, right? They kill their own babies or they
Mhm.
don't reproduce because they aren't physically capable of reproducing
Mhm.
due to the fact that it does require a man and a woman to make a baby. Um, so I mean, on the backside of this, and you saw that speech. I don't know that you have the full context.
Mhm.
Chairman of the local Republican Party and the state committee man of the local Republican Party received a death threat about an hour and a half before I went on stage to give that speech. And you can't see it from the angle that it was filmed at, but we had a red line taped to the stage where the cops were like, "Hey, like we don't have good side coverage. We have good coverage back here. If you step in front of the red line, we can't guarantee your safety." Um, and that was a bit of a game changer getting up there is like, hey, like this is very real. Could I sprint away right now? Could I, you know um little Jennings and my wife were in the audience, could I pick them up and carry them to safety?
Mhm.
um, we need to be we need to we as conservative Christian men need to be realistic about the world that we're living in. We're living in a hostile environment.
Mhm.
In a hostile environment, you need to be training, you need to be lifting, you need to be building up your endurance, and you need to not be carrying around extra weight. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Also, just in terms of joining the movement and like growing the movement, let's look at Charlie Kirk. Like Charlie Kirk was not morbidly obese. I don't think anyone who got on stage and spoke on his behalf was morbidly obese, right? Like it's a bunch of fit guys. Like you aren't attractive to the Republican Party if you are incredibly, incredibly overweight. When you and I first started working together, we talked about like there's a lot of political consultants who just don't take good care of their body. And that wasn't the guy that I wanted to be. I saw that I had put on 10 pounds during election season. And I'm like, this, this compounds every election season for the rest of my life. Like I'm going to be Jabba the Hutt by the time I'm 50.
Mhm.
Um, so again, I know I rambled there, but there is a very real fight, and you aren't going to be able to finish it. We aren't going to be able to finish it if we're all fat and lazy. Going back to the Animal House quote, fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life.
Mm, love that. It's powerful, man. I did not know that context when I saw that video. So that just intensifies it incredibly. And man, well, what a call, what a charge. Um, there's a few incredible speakers at Charlie Kirk's celebration of life. But what Tucker Carlson said actually stuck out to me quite a bit. He spoke significantly about the idea of repentance, and he kind of challenged people. And I think it's important. I feel like I probably have a tendency a little bit to talk about the blessings and the good, which I think it's obviously necessary. That's kind of how Christ communicated. But he also called people to repent. He also came with a sword, right? And so that's incredible. And yeah, I think that that's a great message for people to hear. That there's so much goodness that comes on the other side of taking care of your health. But also it's part of your duty as a man who is building the kingdom to take care of your health. It's part of your duty. And yeah, man, I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you.
If you are a Christian man, your duty is to your children and your children's children. Bible
Mhm.
says a
Yeah.
wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. It also says, before anybody's like, well, it just means a spiritual inheritance. It also says house and riches are the inheritance of fathers.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and in addition to house and riches and the spiritual blessings that come with being a Presbyterian child, who's received the water of baptism and is, fully within the covenant and is treated as a member of the covenant because the promise is to us and to our children per Acts 2. Um, I also want my kids to have memories of roughhousing long into their teenage years. I want to be able to successfully wrestle my sons and put them in their place when they're 18 and they want to show off.
Yeah.
And that happens when you're fit, right? Like you're much more likely to leave an inheritance for your children's children if you're around to see your children's children.
Mm.
And
Amen. Amen.
again, you're not gonna get there if you're morbidly obese or even just a little bit overweight is taking years off your life.
Yeah, absolutely true. Absolutely true. Guys, couldn't have said any of this better myself. I strongly suggest that you have a lot of weight to Jennings' words. And also, dude, thank you for being an example to so many other guys out there, so many other Christian men, so many other dads. Again, coming back to it, like guys who are watching this who might be obviously the self-interest for us is that they engage with our organization, but bigger than that, it's to help them understand and drop the fear and the limiting belief that they can't do it because it's 100% possible. And maybe they need some more help, but yeah, man, I appreciate you being an example of that. Thank you.
Thanks, man.